Today we'll be unboxing the old knucklehead that's the best there is at what he does. I'll rip it open with Newman. Welcome back to the channel. I'm your host Newman, and today we'll be unboxing the Wolverine from Mezco Toys. Created in 1974 by Lynn Wynn, Herb Trimp, Roy Thomas, and John Romita Sr., Wolverine, aka James Howlett, aka Logan, aka Weapon X, aka Patch, has been an X-Men mainstay for 50 years. He was originally conceived of as both young and not a mutant. That unused backstory would soon change after debuting in Giant Size X-Men #1. Now a centuries-old mutant with animal senses, retractable claws, and the ability to heal from almost any wound, Wolverine was part of the Weapon X program, a government agency tasked with recreating the super soldier program that made Captain America. They bonded the indestructible metal adamantium to Wolverine's skeleton, making him a virtually indestructible killing machine. Only through the help of Professor X and his X-Men was Wolverine able to reclaim some semblance of his humanity. Alright folks, so in honor of Deadpool and Wolverine being out in theaters, we're going to go ahead and unbox the man himself, or I guess untin in this instance, Wolverine. We're going to start off by looking at the front of the tin first. Here's some great Wolverine artwork. Now moving to the back of the tin, we've got the same artwork, but we've got a couple of slashes through there. So yeah, pretty good. Nice and simple, straight to the point. Now, taking the top off, I'm going to go ahead and open this bad boy up. I'm going to spill out a whole bunch of papers, and we're going to take a look at the figure inside the tin. Look at all those accessories. That's nuts. This is going to be a fun time, ladies and gentlemen. But before we take him out of the plastic, let's go ahead and take a look at the paperwork that we got. This looks to be a proof of authenticity from Mezco. And this next one looks to be the instructions for it. As you can see, I'm not really going to use these. I like to fumble my way through these reviews and unboxings. Alright, so I think we've wasted enough time. Let's go ahead and switch positions, get a closer look at this thing, so we can have a proper review of old Jimmy Boy. Now, full disclosure, I have actually popped the top on this figure a couple of weeks prior to doing this official unboxing. I didn't really unbox too much, I just wanted to take a look at the figure itself. I didn't look at the accessories or swap out any hands or heads or whatever. I just wanted to have a feel of the figure in hand. And my reaction then is the same as it is right now. This is kind of a marvel of a figure, but I really do like it. He looks suitably short proportion-wise. I love the fabric on the costume. You can see the musculature underneath it. We'll go over aesthetics in a bit, but first let's go over the articulation. The head goes left, right, up and down, all the way around, but you do have to be careful with it. If you bend it back too far, it will pop right off of that ball joint. So he can look up, but he can't look all the way up. Arms go up to about yay high. There is a swivel at the upper bicep, at the shoulder. The blue shoulder pads are articulated as well, so you can move them up and down depending on what look you want for Wolverine. If you want the classic look that has them up a little bit higher, or the more modern look which has them down a little bit lower. There is a swivel at the bicep, which is very tight. All of these joints are really tight. There is a double jointed elbow, but the bicep does kind of get in the way just a little bit, so you can't get the arm like all the way up next to the bicep. There is articulation at the wrist. They go all the way around. There is a flex to them, but you do have to be careful because they might pop out of the peg as well. So I wish there was a little bit more flexibility with those wrists. There is an ab crunch that is pretty good. You can also do a twist on the abs too. The legs go up to yay high, so you can do the splits. That's some good range of movement. There is a double joint at the knees. No issue there. Double joint right there. So that's a little bit better range of movement than the arms. There is a upper thigh swivel, so you can move those thighs around. No boot cut. However, there is articulation in the ankles, so they go up and down. You can angle them, pivot them. So the ankles are actually really tight. I wish there was a little bit better movement in them, but I will trade stability for a range of movement any day. Now this does kind of pop off quite a bit. You can get it right back on if you just pop the latch back into the peg on his deltoid. I appreciate the articulation in the shoulder pads, but I don't know if I like the way they went about it. Now moving on to the accessories, we have some slash effects. So here's a slash effect that has sort of a exploding impact effect. There are 3 little notches that you can insert his claws into so that they can go right onto his adamantium claws. It's nicely sculpted. I don't know if I'm going to use it though. Here we have another slash effect. So this is just your basic slash without the impact explosion effect on it. Again, with the 3 notches that you can put the claws onto. Here's another slash effect that's a little smoother than the previous one. And another slash effect that's a little longer than the previous ones, but not as smooth as the last. Here we have the Sentinel eye that also has 3 notches for Wolverine's claws, or you can just put it in his gripping hand. Here's an X-themed belt buckle swap out for his belt. And another belt that is more classic. It's the red belt with the gold buckle that he wore in his first appearance. It opens up. It has a latching device, much like something you would see in Masters of the Universe. I always hate these types of latching devices because they never quite stick properly after you unlatch them. It gives me an unnecessary amount of anxiety. So you can see me trying to get his original belt buckle back on there, trying to get these pegs in there, and you really have to force these things in there. The same with the clip on the side that you use to latch and unlatch the belt. Here we've got some swap out hands. There's some grappling hands. They look really good. Really like the detailing of the gloves on the inside. Here's another set of hands. This is a pointing finger and sort of a gripping hand that's specific for that Sentinel eyeball, I believe. Here we've got some clawed hands. They're grappling clawed hands. I really love this look for the claws. They really never do it in live action because, you know, it's a gripping device that Hugh Jackman uses to keep the claws in his hand, so they always have to have a fisted look. Here are some bone claws. Look at those things. Those things are thick. Thicker than the metal claws, which kind of doesn't make any sense, but, you know, comics. Here's some fisted clawed hands, also looking pretty good. I love the claws on these swap out hands. They're perfectly centered. They don't look wonky whatsoever. Here's a mask that you can put on the faceless head sculpts. And here is an alternate head. Love this head sculpt. I really like the textured look on the black wings. It looks leather. Here's another original recipe Wolverine head with a nice growling face. I wish his fangs were a little bit longer in the growl, however. Here's the damaged Wolverine head with a gnarly smile going on. I really like this one too. No blood, but you do get to see his metal skull underneath the wounds, which is pretty cool. All right, here's another Wolverine head. It's a classic Wolverine mask with a growling face. Again, I really wish those incisors were just a little bit sharper for a more animalistic look, but that sculpt is fantastic. Here we have one more classic Wolverine head that is roaring, which looks great. Really do like this. This might be the one that I use for my display. Here's a maskless Wolverine head with the longer hair that you see in most modern interpretations of the character. He's got kind of a almost sarcastic smirk, I guess. And another maskless Wolverine head with shorter hair. It looks very John Byrne. I really like this look for the character. I actually kind of like this more than the longer hair, to be perfectly honest. Okay, so delving a little deeper into this tin, we're going to get this fantastic Sentinel display stand. It looks lovely. This is an incredible amount of detail, paint work. It looks great. On the bottom is where you can insert the batteries for the light up eye and eye socket too. And this looks great. I really do like this. I will definitely be using this in my X-Men display. Here we've got some more slashing effects in the classic X-slash pose. And we have the baggie for all the accessories, which I'm not going to use. In case you don't want to use the Sentinel, there is an X-themed display base. And here is the arm for it. Alright, fantastic. And lastly, some batteries for the Sentinel display. So now, I don't plan on using every single accessory that came with this figure, but I do plan on using, I'd say 80% in this review. So let's start first with a swap out head. Let's get that modern mask on there, and look at that. That looks fantastic. Again, I love the proportions on this figure. This is one of those times where the big heads on Mezco figures works in its favor because it makes them look short. This is great. Let's try a maskless head. Let's get that that mask on there first, and let's get this maskless head on there, and look at that. That looks great. My biggest beef with most Wolverine figures are the proportions. It always just looks like a tall guy that's been shrunk down. Now, as a short, stocky guy myself, I really appreciate the proportions on this figure. I think next up we're going to go ahead and swap out this belt. I'm not a big fan of this black belt. It's not bad, but it's not Wolverine. It gotta have the red belt for Wolverine. So let's go ahead and unhook this and see if we can get this on there. Now, as you can see, his underwear are attached to the rest of the yellow fabric. It's different fabric. The yellow is more of a spandex, whereas the blue trunks are more of a leatherish material. Kind of like the Superman Returns costume, to be perfectly honest. And we got that belt on there, and there we go. That's Wolverine, ladies and gents, looking lovely. I do wish that I could get that belt down a little bit lower. I can't quite get it at the same level as that black belt. It's a little difficult. So you can kind of see the creases on the blue trunks of where that black belt was originally. But there we go, ladies and gents. Look at our short king. That looks great. Now let's go ahead and do some size comparisons. Let's get in maybe a Hulk. All right, there we go. All right, look at that size difference. That looks great. That just screams underdog and gives anyone who loves those Wolverine and Hulk matchups the warm and fuzzies. I really love how the yellow and blue just really pop on that figure. Now, as for further size comparisons, let's go ahead and get another Mezco figure in here. There we go. We've got our Cyclops in here. I do like the height difference. I wish Cyclops was a little bit taller, but I do like that Wolverine's a lot bulkier than him. Now, moving on from size comparisons, let's go ahead and continue with some of these accessories, because there's a lot of them. Let's try the longer-haired Wolverine. Also looks good. Now, if we swap out that belt and put an X on there, now we got a Wolverine that looks a lot closer to X-Men the Animated Series, X-Men 97, and, you know, Wolverine from pretty much all of the 90s run. Now, the accessories that I really am interested in are these clawed hands. Now, the clawed hands, they're kind of make or break for a Wolverine figure for me. A lot of the claws, sometimes they're too long, like, say, the Mafex. No hate on that figure. That looks like a wonderful figure, but I think the claws are just a little too long. And sometimes with the Marvel Legends, they tend to be a little wonky. Like maybe two are too close together, or one's a little bit higher than the other. But these are perfect. They are nicely spaced. The sculpt is very good. They look fantastic. And I do like that it's a stronger plastic. It's not that pliable, so you do have to be careful with them, because they could break if you, say, drop it or are too aggressive with them. And also, you know, they're kind of sharp, so be careful with them. These aren't for kids. Now, we are going to try a few more Wolverine head sculpts. Again, that belt is just going everywhere. So far, that's kind of my biggest complaint about this figure, is that belt is just riding up on him. I'm sure it might just be my fault. I probably, there's a better way to secure it, most likely. So, I don't know. Mileage may vary with your Wolverine belt. But we got another clawed hand on here. Let's get him into some Wolverine-centric poses, and here we go. Look at this. Look at this. This looks really good. This looks fantastic. This looks like a statue or a sculpture. It looks that good. You can really see the muscle definition coming through the costume the more you work with the joints and the articulation. This looks great. I know there are some people who don't like the cloth goods over the superhero figures from Mezco. They say it looks like bad cosplay. But in the proper lighting, I think this looks fantastic. See, you're talking to somebody who grew up with Alex Ross art, and that was just the pinnacle of comic book art. And that's what this reminds me of. By the way, look at the texture on the bottom of his boots. It looks really good. And the boot sculpt itself. The juxtaposition of the simple yellow fabric with the complex gloves and boots, I really enjoy it. Oh man, that shoulder pad keeps popping off on me. And it's the same side too, so it might just be an issue with the plastic on that side, unfortunately. Let's swap out some hands again and get these bone claws in here. And let's get them into one of my favorite Wolverine panels by Adam Kubert. The reveal of the bone claws in the danger room. Now, I always like the idea of the bone claws. It always made kind of logical sense, because the metal was put into his forearms. How does he retract them and snick them out without some sort of tendons already being there? I mean, otherwise you would just have to make him kind of a cyborg in order for that to work. But then his healing factor would heal over the cyborg parts. Get what I'm saying? It wouldn't make any sense. He would need brain implants in order to cybernetically control the metal claws if they weren't already there before. Am I making sense? I think I'm making sense. Back in the day when the claws were first revealed, this was a huge controversy that everyone was arguing about. At least as far as I can remember. Back then there was only 5 people on the internet. Everything was done through columns and the letters page in Wizard magazine. But I'm getting sidetracked. So here is another head sculpt on Wolverine, and we've got him in another cool position. Man, I really do enjoy this figure. It just looks so good. I really like how you can see like the abs and the chest muscles underneath that yellow fabric. You know, if Mezco decided to take another pass at Cyclops using this type of fabric instead of the... it was a little thicker fabric that Cyclops had, and it had a X through it, as opposed to just this plain yellow fabric. If Mezco made another Cyclops figure with this type of fabric and the leather type undies, I would definitely go for it. I would definitely get it. Not that I don't hate the current Cyclops figure, but I think the construction and the engineering of this figure is a lot better. And here we've got a throwback. We've got classic first appearance Wolverine up against the Hulk. So now the fact that you can do so many different iterations of Wolverine over the years is a huge win for this figure. I mean, just, this is great. Like any type of Wolverine you want, if you want the classic OG Wolverine, if you want John Byrne Wolverine, if you want Jim Lee Wolverine, if you want Adam Kubert Wolverine, all throughout the years, you can have several different versions with this character. And it's all through just a few subtle detail changes. Just swap out the hand, swap out the head, fix the belt. And then you've got a completely different version of Wolverine for your collection. This is great. The biggest question with all of these Mezco figures, especially the ones that have the spandex cloth goods, is how long are the cloth goods going to last? Well, you know, they're not going to last forever, but hey, neither will we. Everything's temporary. Let's go ahead and test out the Sentinel base. Get these batteries in here. And there we go. Look at that. That's cool. I like the blinking light on the empty socket. That looks really nice. And you can see that there are a bunch of peg holes on this that you can insert a peg from the X stand, which I have right here. Just going to pop that out. There we go. Easy peasy. And this peg you can insert on any one of these empty slots. So you can display Wolverine or any other figure that the peg will accommodate onto this display stand. And if, you know, whatever peg hole you're not using for that stand, it just looks like bullet holes. So here we are. We have a nice little diorama for Wolverine. It looks really good. So back to the figure. We're going to go ahead and swap out this head. I believe the only one that I haven't used yet is the damaged Wolverine head. And look at that. He's looking gnarly. Only thing missing, possibly, is maybe some type of battle damage on the body itself. But I don't even know how they would do that. I don't think these Mezco figures are really made to be pulled apart like a Masters of the Universe figure. I wouldn't even dare try it. It's too expensive for that. But here you can see one of the slashing effects on his claws. It does take a little bit of time to get these slashing effects on there, to get the claws into those peg holes. It's a little precarious, so you have to be patient and not too aggressive. But you can get them on there, and it can look pretty good. I'm always 50-50 with the slashing effects. I don't know if I'll actually use them or not, but here they are, and they look pretty decent. I think this X slashing effect is probably my favorite. So if I were to use it, it would probably be this one right there. Now, I am a bit curious to see if this Sentinel eye can actually fit into the empty slot. And look, oh yeah, look, so it does actually fit in there. So look at that. That's nice. I'm glad that it does. Let's see if we can get it into his gripping hand, and there we go. Yep, there's a kind of a tight fit, and get his claws into the slots onto this eyeball, and there you go. You can get it in there. Maybe not all three at the same time. I think I gave up because it was a little difficult, but I mean, yeah, there we go. You can get it in at least one or two of them. So yeah, this figure it's just dynamite. There are a couple of issues that I have with it. That shoulder pad keeps popping off on me. It's you can get it back in there easy enough, So it's that's a good thing. And I don't know if I would actually want it to be completely permanent because I feel as though I might actually break it off. So I see why they have it on a kind of a peg. The fabric is fantastic. The sculpt is good. The belt I'm not 100% sold on. Not the sculpt, but the fact that I just can't get it 100% over top of the blue underwear. So when you pose them, it kind of rides up on them. It looks a little funky. But that sculpt of the belt is actually really nice. There is a leather texture to the belt, which is really cool. Same with the gloves and the boots and the flaps, the black flaps of the mask. It's really nice. No photograph or video can really capture just how magic this figure is. You really have to have it in hand in order to really appreciate just how cool it is. Okay, final thoughts. This is a terrific figure. You would be lucky to have this in your collection. I bought mine from Amazon for $113, so not stupid expensive, but it is kind of pricey for a 1/12 scale figure. But it is Mezco, so all of their figures kind of range in that price. However, the amount of accessories that you get for this figure more than makes up for it. Because essentially this is, maybe 4 or 5 figures in one. Now, unfortunately, since I bought it, the price has shot up significantly. It's $162 now on Amazon, but you might be able to locate it at some other retailers. Big Bad Toy Store, which is a phenomenal retailer for online toys, actually has it at $155, and it is in stock, so you can get it a little bit cheaper than Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description for it. I'm not getting paid for this. This is actually free advertisement for Big Bad Toy Store, but they are a great retailer, so I do want to promote them. As previously stated, this is a great figure. Articulation is good. It's not great. There are some issues here and there, most notably in the ankles and the head, but nothing too egregious. The sculpt and paint application are fantastic, as are the soft goods. A little bit of an issue with the belt and the shoulder pads, which I've already gone over. That being said, the great of this figure completely outweigh the bad, or rather the problematic. I wouldn't even say they're bad. I love the proportions on this guy. He is suitably short and stocky. The claws on all of the hands are fantastic. And the amount of accessories that come with this figure so that you can create your favorite version of Wolverine, they are really good. Now, although this figure came out before Wolverine's 50th anniversary, this figure feels like a 50th anniversary figure, as opposed to the Marvel Legends, and no knock against Marvel Legends, that had several different versions. You have several different versions in just one tin. Great job, Mezco. You get a gold star. Alright folks, so that's going to pretty much wrap everything up. I am Rippin' Open at Newman on Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video so I can continue making more of these videos. Hit the bell for notifications, and I will check you later.